Good Ceann Minister, I want to ask you if you have engaged with Inland Waterways or the ASB with respect to mitigation measures for flooding issues on the River Shannon. And also I want to ask you what input your department has had in terms of advancing the bill on the Shannon Management Agency Bill 2020.
Thanks, Ceann, and thanks, Deputy. So the progression of measures to mitigate flood risk in the Shannon River Basin is a key priority for the Government. Currently, there are 13 completed flood relief schemes in the Shannon Basin, and these schemes are already providing protection for over 2,600 properties. A further 36 schemes will be delivered as part of the Government's investment in flood relief measures over the lifetime of the NDP. 24 of these schemes are currently being progressed, including Athlone and Springfield, which are currently at construction stage, and when completed, all schemes will provide 95% of the properties identified as being at significant risk from flooding in the Shannon Basin. On a day-to-day basis, water levels on the River Shannon are managed in accordance with agreed protocols between Waterways Ireland and the ESB. Waterways Ireland manage levels for navigation, while ESB manage water levels for the purposes of electricity generation. The ESB manage those levels on 3 lakes, Lough Allen, Lough Ree and Lough Derg, and Waterways Ireland manage water levels at the intermediate water control infrastructure between the lakes. Waterways Ireland and ESB monitor weather forecasts along with weather level reading instrumentation to make informed decisions around sluice opening and closing procedures, whilst remaining within agreed protocols. While these operations influence water levels in the Shannon, the levels cannot be fully controlled, especially when the Shannon Callows is in flood. The Shannon Flood Risk State Agency Coordination Group last met on the 11th of October 2023 and discussed a range of issues relating to work underway to assist the flood risk management along the River Shannon. This includes a project for the removal of the pinch points through the Callows region between Athlone and Mealich Weir. The Shannon Callows includes 2 sites designated under European legislation, the River Shannon Callows SAC and the Middle Shannon Callows SPA. Ireland, like all other EU member states, is bound by the requirements of the EU Habitats and Birds Directive, and no work can commence in the absence of all the appropriate consents being granted. A steering group is in place to oversee the Pinch Points project, and a tender will issue shortly for an ecological consultant to carry out high-level environmental study, and the study will consider the possible impacts of the excavation of material at key locations in the Shannon Channel, the longer-term maintenance of the riverbed, and changes in water levels. And I'll finish the second part of it in a minute.
Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Minister. I thank you for your response. In respect of the Shannon Callows, obviously you would know that there's ongoing issues there. You mentioned the Habitats Directive and that no work can take place because of that. But what's the response? I mean, are the MEPs from government parties, are they trying to raise this issue in Brussels to try and get it resolved? Because we can't have a situation where farmers and landowners see the same thing happen year in, year out, not just in winter but also in summer. So I'd like to know what progress is there in terms of the advancement of the bill. What's happening there? I mean, this bill has been on the priority legislation list, Shannon Agency Management Bill, since 2021. So it's been on the list 2021, 2022 and again in 2023. So what does priority really mean when we haven't seen this bill advanced? So I'd like to know, please, I'd like an update on that, because it is farcical. People are very frustrated and they're very fed up at the constant delays, and particularly with this bill. Surely that could be advanced quite quickly. We've seen legislation going through the House sometimes here at speed, which is a bad thing. But I'd like to know where that is. Where's that bill?
So the preparation of legislation to improve the management of flood risk on the River Shannon is a priority, and the management of flood risk on the river is closely intertwined with other uses of the river, such as I've already said, navigation and dam safety, by Waterways Ireland and ESB, neither of which are the Office of Public Works. The OPW has conducted an analysis of existing legislation with regard to the management of the River Shannon, including a review of the powers of various bodies involved with the river. The outcome of the analysis has informed the proposed approach, which is currently under consideration, and I hope to bring a final proposal to Government shortly.
Minister, with respect, shortly isn't good enough. When will we see your proposal brought to government? I think people need certainty here. I know the organisation, Save Our Shannon organisation, they've constantly highlighted this matter on behalf of farmers and landowners. There's a lot of frustration. Shortly doesn't cut it. We need a time frame, Minister. It's not good enough. I need to give certainty to my constituents, and it is, it's a situation that needs urgent action. In regard to my question about party MEPs raising it in Brussels, what are they doing? in terms of trying to get over this Habitats Directive, or try to instill some common sense into the directive where we can stop people's land being flooded. In regard to CFRAM, Minister, they've been meeting for the best part of a decade, and I know there has been calls for reviews in relation to their strategies. So I'd like your comments on that. But I need certainty here, Minister, for my constituents, and I'd like a time frame, and also I'd like to know, have you been in contact with the MEPs from your own party to try and raise this in Brussels to get some common sense brought?
In fairness, Deputy, I should point out, and you're quite entitled to raise that question, but the Minister is not responsible to the House for questions raised in the European Parliament.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is input. Like, there's MEPs from the government parties. That's what I'm saying, and we need a coordinated effort
Minister, please.
for both parliaments.
There's MEPs from all parties and none, Deputy, and you know, their email addresses are freely available.
Sorry, Minister. I specifically asked you about your own government.
If you'd let me answer. I think if you're trying to find out what MEPs are at, as the Count Corla has suggested, I think you're as capable as I am of sending them an email. With regard, Count Corla, to the question which was actually put, because on the question paper it doesn't mention MEPs from Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil or any. And I have answered, and I'm trying to answer the question that you asked. With regard to the question that you asked, which is around the legislation around this, this is a very complicated issue, and there's one of the bodies, Waterways Ireland, which has responsibility for navigation, is a cross-border body set up under the Good Friday Agreement, whose powers were derived from the Office of Public Works that we previously had responsibility for the Shannon. So, as well as that, it's electricity generation, and there are huge implications for Partine, Weir, and for further flooding that could be caused at the lower Shannon. So it isn't something that we can just simplistically, and I have devoted a lot of time, as have my officials, and I hope to be in a situation early in the new year to bring a proposal to the government on this.